What's up, River Youth? We're here doing announcements right now. Don't forget to sign up for 30 for Freedom. It's still happening on July 4th. The day that we celebrate our freedom, we are going to run for theirs. So don't miss it. It's going to be virtually, #virtually unstoppable. Don't miss it. It's going to be awesome. The other thing we have going on this weekend, River of Life is live on the lake on Saturday at 5, as well as Sunday at 11 on the Horseshoe Chain of Lakes. We will not be playing horseshoes, but you can come to the Horseshoe Chain of Lakes. Watch our service online. Come by kayak, boat, wave runner, pontoon, canoe, paddle boat,
or flotation devices.
You could be floating on your life jacket, whatever. Just come. Cool noodles.
Yeah. I want to see you there.
Yeah, but there's also this summer, we do have camp going on. It has not been canceled as of now. You can still sign up. You don't have to pay yet until you know. But our group code is rvryth. You can sign up for camp. Don't miss it. It's the same weeks that we were going originally. So make sure you sign up for camp. It's going to be awesome. And sometimes at camp you can play horseshoes.
Yes.
Okay? So don't miss it. It's going to be awesome.
Love you guys.
We are excited to have you joining us again for another one of our services. If it's your first time, once again, we are also excited to have you joining us. Why don't you create right now, wherever you are, your space, whether it's at your home or on your phone, your car, wherever it is, create an altar where you can begin to worship the Lord, and let's worship together. Come on.
There is a fountain that never runs dry, forever flows with water of life. You never stop moving, you never stop moving. Where your river runs, everything lives, and where your river flows, we'll never thirst again. You never stop moving, you never stop moving. Your mercy flows like a wild, wild river. Your love is strong like the raging sea. God, oh, your goodness goes beyond all measure. Your praise like a flood pouring out of me. Call me out to walk with you on the seas. Even in my doubt, deep calls too deep. You never stop moving, you never stop moving. Yes, your mercy, Lord, your mercy flows like a wild, wild river. Your love is strong like the raging sea. God, oh, your goodness goes beyond all measure. Your praise like a flood pouring out of me.
Let's sing together of His grace like this.
Your grace, a limitless ocean. I'm swept away in the tide. We draw from the well of your goodness, drink from the water of life. Your grace, a limitless ocean. I'm swept away in the tide. We draw from the well of your goodness, drink from the water of life. Yeah. Your grace, a limitless ocean. I'm swept away in the tide. We draw from the well of your goodness, drink from your water. Your mercy flows
We're rolling. We are live-ish.
Sort of live.
Sort of live.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. We're
Welcome.
excited that you are here with us as we are back in the car.
Back in the truck.
Again, with our bubbler.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Oh, maybe we can be. Sarah
Yet.
kind of is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe Sarah can give us the hookup.
We're out here in the truck.
We're in the truck, and we are driving to one of my most favorite places in the entire world.
Mine too.
Yours too, yes. Where are we going? You can comment below. There we go.
There it is.
Comment below where you think we are going. Where are we headed today as we are Church on the Move, River Youth Edition? Where are we going? But today, as we're driving to this location, we are almost there. We're getting close. It's been quite the journey.
Yes, it has.
It's been quite the day. But, right, Kent?
Right.
Yeah, she's in here. She's trapped.
She is in here. She didn't want to be awkward in the middle this week.
So she's hiding.
But let's just start as we're driving almost to our location, talking about character. And tonight we're going to do things a little bit different. You'll find out at the end. But we want to talk about character and what character is. What do you think character is? If you want to comment, what is character? What is, I don't know, how else do you ask that question? But what is character? A couple things that as you look it up, you'll realize that character is the mental and moral qualities that make up somebody, a person, or are distinctive to a specific person. And there's two different types of quality or characters: a good character and a
Bad character.
bad character. You guys got it.
Just like in any story.
in any story, good characters and bad characters. Who was a good character? Batman. To a bad character,
Joker.
the Joker. Anything else? I'm not a Marvel guy.
There's way too many in the Marvel universe.
Way too many in the Marvel universe.
You got Thanos, who's the bad guy.
Never heard of him.
He's never even seen most of these movies. But anyways,
My wife has.
there's a lot of characters.
A lot of characters.
In every good story, there's
Yep.
there's characters that are both good and bad.
So with that, in good character, for yourself, for us as people, as we are developing our character, some good things that are good characters of humans or individuals is integrity, loyalty. There's also honesty, courage. Those are examples of good character. But there's also bad character. And bad character is something that maybe leads you to something that is evil or wrong, or makes you do something wrong, or say something you shouldn't say about somebody. And so there's different characteristics of people that are either good or they're bad. And good character will highly influence you to make the right decision or the right choices in life. And that's the character that you want to develop and the character you want. But we want to define what character is first. I don't know, Dylan, if you have anything else you want to add to the character piece.
Well, I think a big component of character, which we're going to talk about, is integrity. And the word integrity comes from the mathematical term. Sorry if you get motion sick on our drive here. We're going somewhere in a circle. Everyone's mad at us. How many times are we going around this thing?
I don't know.
But integrity comes from a math term called integer, which means a whole number, which a lot of you guys probably have been learning in your homeschool right now. And but integer is a whole number, and integrity is about being a whole person. It's not about putting your life in a box. You know, a lot of times people, they have a box of social media, how they appear online. They have a box when they're around their friends. They have a box when they're at church or around their family. But we want to talk about being the real you. And being a person of integrity means being who you are when no one's looking. I think C.S. Lewis said it. Integrity is who you are when you're in the dark. You know, when no one sees you. And we want to be people of character. We want to be the same person God has called us to be, whether we're out in the world or whether we're in the church or whether we're with our family or with our friends. We want to be the people God has called us to be, to make the right decisions and to live the right way, the way God is calling us to live, no matter where we are.
Yeah, so I guess the next question would be in that, who are you? Who are you at the core? And I think everybody's got good character at their core because that's who God made you to be. There's good character at your core. So who are you? Who really are you? And when you think about it, and at the core, and I get this this imagery of a Hostess cupcake or a jelly donut.
You buy a jelly donut, at least most people buy a jelly donut, not so much for the donut, but for the filling, the jelly. I like Hostess cupcakes. My dad grew up on them kind of with me, eating them all the time. But I don't like necessarily the cupcake of the Hostess cupcake. I like the filling. At the core is who you really are. And people want to know who you are, and you look towards the core of that. And so as we think about this a little bit more, it's what happens in life, I think sometimes, is if you think about who you truly are at the core, a lot of times what happens is as we look to others or to culture, society, we begin to create different characters that aren't necessarily who we are at the core, or good, if you will. And so we almost become like at the core, you're like this big, and all of a sudden it gets bigger and bigger, or you get filled, the filling is there, and the donut gets bigger and it grows as it is baking, or the cupcake is there. And so it creates a new you that isn't exactly who God created you, or that you to be. And so but at the core, who really are you? And the nice thing about it is that when we come into relationship with Jesus, when you accept him into your life, you can come back to that core and be created in the image of who God is. And God gives us the grace to live in that integrity that Dylan just talked about. And so God made you, and you are who God made you to be. And there's a couple verses that you could pull up. Even Psalms 139 talks about that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That we are fearfully and wonderfully made, or before you were born, God knew who you were. He knit you, and you are known by God. Every little intricate piece about you, your character and everything within you, and who you are at the core, at the jelly or at the cream filling, who you are, God created you to be that. He knit you, and you are known by him. He knows you. He knows exactly who you are. He probably knows you better than you know you. And it goes on in the Bible, it says in Ephesians that you are a masterpiece. You are God's masterpiece, and you are also created in the image of God. And so if that's who God has created you to be, and that's who we need to be at our core, and that's who we can be. And let's go for example like this. Someone asked the question, one of your friends, let's say, that doesn't go to church, or a friend that doesn't know God like you know God, or in a relationship with Jesus like you are, have that relationship with Jesus. Let's say they go to God and say, hey God, would you reveal to me your greatest work? What do you think God's greatest work is? What is God's greatest work? And some of you might think, and you can comment below if you want, and some of you probably come up with the right answer, but a lot of people would think, God's greatest work, have you seen the stars on a clear night? Like, how amazing is that? Dylan, you just took an incredible picture of the stars at night, and it just is phenomenal when you see the stars at night. It's mesmerizing. Or have you ever seen the Northern Lights? The Northern Lights are incredible. Some of you might think technology is the greatest creation. Technology, which right now is really great because it's allowing us to do this during quarantine. Maybe some of you think Instagram is one of the greatest creations. What is God's greatest creation? Some of you might think it's the barrier between the oceans and land. You might think that is the greatest creation. Some of you might think it's the animals that are an elephant is just a majestic animal that is walking through. You see that and you think that is God's greatest creation. And there's so many different things that we can see as God's greatest creation. But we are at a spot now that I think is one of God's greatest creations. Close to it. But it's the bakery. It's the bakery. We are here at the Cold Spring Bakery, which is one of my favorite places on earth. I don't know if anybody guessed it. I'm guessing you didn't. But it's one of my favorite places on earth. And what's nice about in the bakery, there's all these display cases. There's all these places that you walk in there and you see all the different donuts, and no donut is the same. Everything is different. Some of them have filling in them. Some of them don't. Some of them are chocolate covered. Some of them aren't. Some of them are holy.
Some of them are holy, and some of them are donut holes that have no holes in them.
Yeah, they're whole.
They're whole.
In a different way.
That is good stuff right there.
That is.
But the reason why we brought you to this location at Church on the Move is this. We are all on display. Just like the donuts that you are seeing right now in the bakery. We are all on display. And God's greatest creation wasn't the stars.
God's greatest creation wasn't the northern lights or the ocean or the beach that you stand on as you look at the ocean. God's greatest creation is you. We are God's greatest creation. If you look in Scripture, you see that God created everything. He spoke it into existence, and then he created man, and he saved his breath for us, for humans, and he breathed life into us. We are God's greatest creation. He gave us the power to rule over all the animals and the oceans and everything around us. He gave us that power to rule over that. And we are God's greatest creation to reflect him, to be on display for him. And so I think it's pretty incredible to think that as we're standing here at the bakery and you're seeing some of these donuts that are in display cases, that's who we are. Why? Why does God put us that way? Because we are his best work. We're his best work for all to see. We are the people of compassion, of integrity. We're the people of honesty and passion and the ability to put aside our own wants and needs to help somebody that's maybe in need. Maybe you got people around you in your life that are in desperate need of hope. They're in desperate need of grace or of love or compassion, somebody to show care, somebody to lead them to truth. And we become God's greatest creation, his greatest work, his masterpiece, so that we can lead people to him. And people know that they see us and they know that we are God's greatest work because we show compassion, we show integrity. Why? Because we see God's character. But there is a kind of a roadblock or a hiccup along the way, as we are not perfect. Never will we be perfect, or have we been perfect? But it's hard because none of us have lived that perfect life and that perfect image of God. We're surrounded by darkness. We're surrounded with, or we have a sinful lifestyle within us that causes us to do things we shouldn't do, and according to God's word. And there's this darkness that changes who we are, kind of like we have our character at the core, but then everything else seems to surround us, and we develop a different character that isn't us at the core. And we develop all these things by looking at other people, but it's Jesus who is the only perfect and normal human ever to walk the face of the earth. And it's in him that we see God's character, and it's through him that we are made in his image to reflect him. And Dylan, you might have some more on that thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we look at Jesus as the person that shows us who God truly is. And I think that's very true. He shows us what the divine looks like. We call that divinity. But he also shows us what a human is supposed to look like, which is humanity. And so he shows us both the divinity, who God is, but he shows us how we as humans should live. And I heard it said recently that we oftentimes think of Jesus as the anomaly. He was the one and only perfect human, and therefore he's the odd man out. But really, I think he's the standard. You know, when you look at a crisp $1 bill, and you look and you see all these other counterfeit dollar bills, you see monopoly money, you know the one and true dollar bill because it's minted by the creator. And I think Jesus shows us how to be human. He shows us how to interact with others, how to reflect God's presence. And I think, you know, even Kyle was talking about the stars, and when we look up, we have one star that is essential to life. We call it the sun. And just as Jesus is the Son of God, he's essential to life. And God also put the moon in the sky to reflect the sun and to show the light even in the darkness. Think about it. The sun, you don't see the sun in the darkness. You see the moon in the darkness because it's a reflection of the sun at night. And so we are like the moon. We are to reflect God's true character as humans to other people in the midst of the darkness. And Jesus is the standard. He's the example that we're to follow. And he shows us what true character is.
Yeah, and we can experience God. We have experienced God. We've experienced the power of Jesus in our lives, in our youth services, at camps, or different venues or things. Or maybe you're watching for the first time and you never have. We want to give you that opportunity. You can click the hand that's raised right now in that moment to receive Jesus and to really experience him and encounter him in such a way that you can't help but show it or share it with the world around you, to reflect it. We are on display in everything that we do, people look to us for hope. They look to us for peace, for truth, for joy. They look to us for the grace that God has given us and we reflect that, we display that through our character. And the nice thing is the Word of God helps us understand what God's character is and how to live. So make sure you're diving into that. Make sure you have an encounter with God that you want to share with other people. If you haven't, be praying for that encounter. Be praying for that miracle. And so we would love for you guys to jump into a Zoom life group, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But we would love for you to jump into a Zoom life group that is happening right now. Leaders are waiting for you in their Zoom life groups where you can talk more about this. How do you develop the character of God? Why did God create humans? And we want to dive into this in a deeper way on why God is using you and wants to display you and reflect you to the world around you. So jump into a life group. You can see there's 3 different groups for 3 different grade ages that you can click on. Go to those groups. There's leaders waiting for you. They got some questions and they want to talk with you and just have community happen outside of gathering together. But tonight it's a Zoom life group. We want you to jump in. Go check it out. We love you guys. We miss you. We'll see you later.
You got sprinkles all over your
Good.
beard.
Victory. Make sure you get to a life group, friends. It's going to be
Don't
sweet.
miss life groups. You could bring your own donuts.
Oh, it's a good donut.
It's a good brownie, gluten-free brownie with our bubblers. Seriously, your life group leaders are waiting for you.
Yeah, get over there. What are you waiting for? We're done here.